كان ما تجادلت هو. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم وفقنا لما تحب وترضاه وأعط لكل عبد منا من الخير ما نواه. وصلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد ومن والاه. Let's start with your questions if you have any question, and then I have a couple of questions people ask. I will answer them in a general way. Bismillah. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
You can ask without it.
Pray behind someone who has a corrupted aqidah. What are some of these aqidah deviations, if you could clarify to us?
I think I get that here's a question, but we'll see. The word fusuq has two meanings. فسوق في الجارحة وفسوق في العقيدة. There are two parts. And the word fusuq, it comes from Arabic expression when they talk about that the fruit, or you can say dates, lose its skin. So the skin, from the actual fruit, and that could lead to the fruit to get bad. So they call فسقت التمرة. So anything could affect, the matter and lead to the matter to go in a wrong way. It took that meaning of fusuq. And fusuq could be something related to aqidah, or something related to jariha, to not aqidah, but to the actions of the body where it's not the proper way. Lying is fusuq. It's a major sin, it's fusuq. Believing something that's against what Allah says in the Quran, it could be part of fusuq or even worse. Okay. So it's not kufr. This is, where a degree that is really bad when somebody will be labeled with that, where he has fusuq in aqidah. It's not up to us to judge people, and we're not going after anyone, and we should not. And always we should give the benefit of doubt, especially when it comes to aqidah. However, if somebody when knowing with deviating belief, and he publicly mentioning that and announcing this, then he left with us with no option, that we have to determine what's the aqidah of that person. So that's a point. So if somebody is really not holding up on the rules of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and it's clearly he's saying something against that, then that could lead to fusuq. So there is no a specific word. It's actually case by case. What's that? No, the fasiq is a Muslim. There's no we say, the kufr is different. When they say, oh no, I'm not talking about that. No, you are mixing what Shia and Ash'ari is two totally different things. No. It's totally different. But to make your question, what's your question, brother? Um, Not really, not really. But just second. Um, it's not really. It could be somebody who's not Muslim Sunni. It could be even kafir if he's like completely rejecting main things in aqidah. Could be fasiq. Could be not. So it's not. Was that? Okay. Um, uh, Generally speaking, not like as you said. So see, in the Islam, we are not the one. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. We should not point any person with the kufr unless there's a clear evidence that that's from Quran and Sunnah and from the qualified scholars. لا يقول مسلم لمسلم يا كافر. Then it will be really bad. As Rasulullah said, فقد باء بها أحدهما. So just give me a second, brother. It's not a debate. No, but this is not right. It's a live. It's a live, and we wait. People watching that. And we should not be confused about that. So, and when it comes to kufr, we have to be careful. I'll give you just one hadith, and you will realize how it's really bad to rush to accuse any person with kufr. One time, Usama ibn Zayd was fighting in a day called Juhayna. And he was about to kill one person. And he's, at that time, when he was fighting him, he fighting against kafir, okay? But that person, he said, La ilaha illallah. And despite that, Usama killed him. Let me finish. That's not a expected way, brother. It's not. Let me finish it. Okay, but at least, brother, why are you like this? Why? Where's the manner? I'm just a point behind that. Why you not respecting, brother? This is not. This you interrupt me multiple times, and this is the way you respect. This is the knowledge. We're talking about a matter important deen. Brother, we are here. We are here to respect each other. That's the first thing that we have to agree on. Okay, that's a different story. You're making your fatwa. Who said that diya? Well, I will answer you with all your shubuhat. Subhanallah. Okay, no problem. I'm a little bit upset because of the way. This is not the way that we interact with each other. We have to give a respect to each other. So he killed him, and the point here that he went to the Prophet ﷺ, and when the Prophet heard about that, he was very upset. But that's the first place. That something makes the Prophet angry. That's not something easy. To the point that Usama, he said, I wish if I was not even Muslim that day or accept Islam that day, because how he felt that's something major, okay? Okay. So he told him, من لك بلا إله إلا الله يوم القيامة هلا شققت عن قلبه. Who's going to help you and defend you in the day of judgment against La ilaha illallah? When it comes, La ilaha illallah will come against you. And he said to him, have you opened his heart to see that he's a Muslim or not? The point of that hadith, that we should not even rush. Even in this situation, he was fighting kafir, and we can interpret it a different way. Even Usama himself, he thought that person, he said it because he wanted to escape from death. But still, you give him the benefit of doubt. You still give him the room. Do not just rush. Even in this situation, brother, that it's a clear That's clear. Yes, he was fighting kafir. And just a moment ago, he's kafir. And just he said, La ilaha illallah. And we all will agree on that, okay? So, because of that, he like killed him. He didn't kill Muslim in his judgment that he's not Muslim. But the Prophet, he pointed to him, no, it's not up to you. It's not up to you. He said, La ilaha illallah. So there's a proper way before you accuse that person that he's kafir. There's a proper way that, we are going to that way. So do not rush to do that. Like, even if some people, they said something not Islamic, for example, we say that word, it's a word of kufr. It's not right word. But doesn't mean that person is kafir. We have to differentiate in those situations. So as a Muslims, we don't rush for takfir. We don't rush to say that a Muslim or that, it's a kafir and up to us. And please, when we ask, we should respect. And this is where the problem, when you learn some issues and you're ignorant about other things, you're going to be really the enemy of yourself. Al-jahilu aduwwu nafsihi. So we have to be careful, when we are addressing the things. So now he's using he's that person, he is kafir. He's still saying he's kafir. Even after Rasulullah said, do not accuse him with a kufr. Subhanallah. And the argument, he said, because Rasulullah never asked him for diyah. It's not the argument. It's not an argument in this. Because in this, there's a shubha anyway. Shubha is there. And Osama, he didn't intentionally kill him, knowing that he's a Muslim. So that's a different story. Okay. The matter is not that easy. That's why staying away from that is always a part of wisdom. Staying away from labeling people, staying away from accusing the aqidah of people. Unless they did something in public, and even they said something in public, you have to prove they were wrong. You have to, apply the hujjah for them. Do not even jump. Even if somebody said something wrong or did something wrong, you have to make it clear for him that it's bid'ah, that it's wrong. Otherwise, you cannot accuse him with a bid'ah or with fusuq. Yes. That's fine. I could understand. I will repeat his question. Yes.
Mistakes in Aqidah, but as openly says, I'm a Nashri, close to it, close to different ayat there. Okay. Now, let's be fair and clear. When it comes the term Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, that was labeled for Ash'ari and Maturidi for over 800-900 years in the Islamic history. So but we're not looking at the names, but I'm just saying that's when you say Ahlul Sunnah Jama'ah, that's they are Ash'ari and Maturidi. And sometimes people, they are too much with that. If we are excluding Ash'ari or Maturidi from Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah and from the Ummah, that means we're excluding the 70-80% from the scholars in the past. Which, those scholars, they taught us the deen, okay. So we have to be careful. It's not just as about the name or the title. Even when it comes to Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, for example, he praised Imam Ash'ari himself in his book in multiple positions in there. Why is that? Because the Ash'ari, it's a whole school. It's not one person. And their method in the past and their interpretation in the past and their understanding in some of the ayat of sifat is different from those that comes later. So they have two even madhab within
the Ash'ari themselves when they are dealing with the Ayatul Sifat. Okay, so those in the past, they are now actually going into the interpretation. So those at the time of Imam Ash'ari himself and others, and I have read almost, you can say, all of his books. I couldn't see any of the ideas that was implemented later in the school of Ash'ariyah, Imam Ash'ari himself. Okay, so he was not actually, going into the ta'wil, the interpretation of Ayat Sifat, as the followers and later those who comes. Even those scholars, when those they come lately, and after that, after the main scholar of the madhab, they have good intention behind the interpretation. The only things that they might actually having kind of excessive way of giving interpretations for those ayat. Now, asking ourselves, is ta'wil that even was exist at the time of Salaf? Of course, they were there. There are some of Sahaba, they made ta'wil for some ayat. And they have to make ta'wil for those ayat. They have not considered that ayat as it is. They made ta'wil for it because accepting it as it is, that actually might lead to wrong aqidah. So for example, like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ, Allah is with you wherever you go, that's never take it literally. And actually taking it literally, that would be corrupted aqidah. So they have to make ta'wil in that. يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ, يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ. When Allah is talking about the day for judgment and about hellfire, Allah used the word saq, which means leg. None of the scholars that said that's part related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or one of his sifat. All of them, they have to make ta'wil. They said that's a sign that it's very strong and bad days for them. Okay, so that expression the Arab use for that, situation to mention that something is really, not easy for them. What's my point from that? So the Sahaba and their followers, they have not went into even that subject. They were not even up to that. They accepted as it is. And when the ayat cause kind of ishkal, kind of issue or that problematic, they might, interpret it, with the way that suit, with that, with that suit, with the meaning that never contradict the aqidah. So what happened? What comes later? They were very excessive in that subject. So they made, ta'wil and that almost in every ayah. Okay. And I have not recalled from any of the scholars, even nowadays, they, as the brother mentioned, that, accuse them that, they are people of fusuq or they're out of Islam. That's why we have to be careful with that. Yes, they might having kind of bid'ah in some of the, those people, like, in some areas, but it doesn't mean that's a bid'ah mufassiqa or bid'ah mukaffira. We have to be careful when you come, to this. And that's a sign, actually, of not respect. That's one thing, and rushing to do a judgment, for in a part of aqidah. That's not a good sign. It could lead you actually to extremism, and may Allah protect us from that. My point here, we should not really judge, to label people or to judge them, just because of a term or a word, because that term could mean different things, not as people would think. Do you have any other question?
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
سورة الرحمن رب المشرقين ورب المغربين. As we understand from Arabic, there is two east and two west. So how the ulama translated رب المشرقين ورب المغربين.
So, the brother asking in one of the surahs in the Quran, Surah Al-Rahman, Allah said, Rabbul Mashriqaini wa Rabbul Maghribain. Actually, Allah said in the Quran, Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghrib in a single form. And He said, Rabbul Mashriqaini wa Rabbul Maghribain. And He said, Rabbul Mashariqi wal Magharibi. So, it comes in a single form, in the dual, like, and in the plural form. And when, generally speaking, it's one mashriq and one maghrib, like generally speaking. But when you go into details, it could be having actually multiple mashariq and multiple maghrib, and there's no contradiction in all of that. It's depend on the context, which one it would fit with that context. So that's another condition. Another question. Why in this context Allah said Rabbul Mashriqi wal Maghrib, and why in the other one He said Rabbul Mashariqi wal Magharibi? And is any significance of that? Of course. First of all, you have to understand that there's no any contradiction. Second, that every word meant to be in that position, every word, and the other word will never fit on that. Rabbu al-Mashriqi wa al-Maghribi. That generally speaking. And now, if you asking why in Surah Al-Rahman particularly Allah said Rabbu al-Mashriqaini wa Rabbu al-Maghribain. The ayat in Surah Al-Rahman addressing الثقلين الإنس والجن. Most time they talk about the two types of creation. If you look at that, talking about خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار. And then talk about بحرين, talk about ثقلين الإنس والجن فبأي ربكما تكذبان. In the perspective like of each creation, there is a consideration for Mashriq and Maghrib. The mushakala, you can say, they called in Arabic. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that mentioned the two types of creation, He referred to that it's not only one, it's multiple ones. I don't know if that makes sense for you or not. Yes, like I'll tell you another word. In the following ayat, Allah talk about jannat, okay? And He said, وَمِن دُونِهِمَا جَنَّتَانِ وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Like, He didn't even say one Jannah. How you look at it, it's matter. It could be actually one Jannah, but how you look at it. When in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give an example for that person. وَضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مثلا رجلين جعلنا لأحدهما جنتين من أعناب. So for one of them there are two Jannah. Yes? Is it two or one? But because there's a river split in between, you know, that's now you can count it as two. Which actually it's one, you know, one Jannah. And in how you look at that, it doesn't matter now to mention that are two, not one. Yes, in the times of counting, then you go into details because you are counting. So the details don't matter. But when it's generally speaking, there's no point to count. At the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He mentioned the Jannah in the same story, He said one Jannah. فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها. He didn't say فيهما. It's only referred to that, to one. So in a time that there is a way to count, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala counted, you know, that way. Because that's a position to mention the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's fit with that to count more than to mention the things as one at whole. So it comes again in that position. It's a position of counting. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, He would refer that He granted for you things that multiple, not only just one single matter. Okay. Wallahu a'lam. The Quran has a lot of secrets, you know, but we just try to reflect upon the ayat as much as we can. Yes, maybe one last question. Go ahead.
يستطيع الحاج لما يوصل يصلي بعدين يختار وقت الطواف ولا لازم أول ما يدخل الحرم يبدأ بالطواف؟
The question that when the person arrives in Mecca, he should start with tawaf, or he could rest and then choose the time for tawaf. Yes, if you can rest, like if coming like all the way with the distance and you're tired, and you want to have some rest before starting your umrah and your tawaf, yes, you could do that. There's no harm for this. Even if you went in, you still can do that, but it's not preferable. Because tahiyyatu al-bayt al-tawaf, that, you know, the tahiyyah, or where the things you start with it as a matter of a greeting, you know, or matter that you start with it, it's tawaf. You can do that, but khilaful awla. Okay? It is permissible, but not preferable. Yeah, that's fine. There's no any consequences of that if you have done this. Yeah, and then that's another reason. That's another reason. If because of the crowd they couldn't allow you to get in, so anything that out of your control, you're not going to be questioned about. So you don't have to worry about it. Yes. We stop at this moment. At this point, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I just want to ask, who are the people that will see Allah Azza wa Jalla yawm al-qiyamah? Is it like all mu'mineen and muslimin, or there is like...
Who will be granted to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Any person believe in that. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and believe in that he would see Allah. that would be granted for him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran as one of the uquba, yani one of the punishment, that's really bad punishment for those that are not believing in him, that they're not going to see him. Allah said, ثم إنهم عن رب كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون. So if somebody was prevented not seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's for him it's a great loss. So anyone believing that he would see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, like, with the proper aqidah, and he believed that he would see Allah, inshallah that will be, granted, for him. And that's that's one of the great bounties or reward. One time, Zamakhshari, that's his Imam for Mu'tazila, he was talking about Jannah. And then he made just a comment in the form of question. He said, وَهَلْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ مِن نَعِيمٍ? Isn't there like other blessing or reward after this? So he said it in a tricky way. Because Mu'tazila, knowing that they are not believing that they would see Allah. So when you read about Jannah and you heard his questions, oh, there's nothing. No, there is. It's better than Jannah is to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's, a great blessing. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to it in the Quran, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَادَةً. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة. Now, somebody who might take that what happened with Musa alayhi salam, that's in terms of dunya. That's in terms of dunya, that he cannot see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Musa, what led him to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he would to see him? قال ربي أرني أنظر إليك. Because he enjoyed speaking to Allah. He wanted to go further. He wanted to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, that's not for you. Amen. In dunya. He said, lan tarani. Lan, that's for a future. But which future? That related to this life. It's not talking about akhirah. It's not exceeding this dunya. Yes, so in this life, you're not going to see him. But in the hereafter, you would. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished those that asked Musa to ask his Lord that أَرِنَ اللَّهَ جَهْرًا, that they want to see Allah. And he punished them because of that. But he didn't punish Musa. Because the reason behind it is different. Because they made it as a condition, they are not going to believe in you until we see Allah. They have bad attitude. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, revealed that punishment for them. But Musa, he asked out of love. And that's really different. So you see, it might be, it's the same request, but the intention behind it are different. So he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to see him and to enjoy seeing him as he really enjoyed talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. Ameen, Ismail. So may Allah grant that for all of us, bi'idhnihi subhanahu. Okay, brother. For what purpose? Oh, the future tellers?
Just consulting. Not, I don't believe in them. They know the future. Only Allah knows the future. But consultation of what is best and
Okay.
which time is best, which time is lucky.
Okay. صدق الشرع ولا تركن إلى رجل يرصد بالليل زحل. Here, my brother, there are two things. If just going to Arraf, if somebody would tell you we're going to happen in the future, you know, and all of that, and he's dealing with all of these issues, just going to him, that by itself is a major sin, even without believing in him. ومن أتى عرافا لم تقبل منه صلاة 40. That his salah will never be accepted for a period of time. That's as mentioned the hadith. Now, if you go to him and you believe in him, that could lead to kufr. ومن أتى كاهنا فصدقه فقد كفر بما أنزل على محمد. So now if you believe in him, that could lead to kufr. So we have to be careful about this. So if just going, just to know, just for information, you not necessarily believe in him or not, that a major sin. So we should, really stay away from that subject. May Allah protect us and protect our aqidah. Amen. جزاكم الله خيرا. اللهم علمنا ما جهلنا وذكرنا ما نسينا وفقهنا في ديننا واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. آمين. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.